In today's video, I am pulling out an art supply, and I'm embarrassed to say this, that I have had for at least 5 years, maybe longer. I actually have no recall of ever buying it. What I'm talking about is some oil paints, which are water soluble. And I think I must have taken a class or something, and they used these water soluble oil paints. And I thought, oh, that's a great idea, because I'm used to using water soluble materials such as, any type of, well, obviously charcoals and things like that. But I'm thinking of just your basic acrylic paint, which is water soluble in that you can clean it with water. You don't need all the solvents. You don't need all the linseed oils and all the other things that go along with oil paint. I just always thought oil paint was just so scary. I'll never use it, whatever. Well, I have this little area where I kind of have kept random supplies, and it's behind a door, so I never look at it for the most part, or I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. And I thought, okay, at a certain point, you have to just make a decision. Either I'm going to get rid of those, or I'm going to try them. And so I decided today to try these water soluble oil paints, and I thought, I'll turn the camera on. And maybe that wasn't the best idea. I don't know. I mean, I think it was fine. Maybe I should have. And I was like, I'm not swatching them. I'm just going for it. So I did go for it. I painted a portrait. At the very end, when I turned the camera off, I kind of had talked. I did a few more things after that. It was a little intimidating, I must admit, to do it on camera, because I've never used this material, and I wasn't really sure how it would perform or what it was like. But I thought, how hard can it be? Which is probably a good mindset in some ways. It's like, what does it really matter? So what I guess I'm hoping your takeaway will be, if you have some supply that you have not reached for or not used, or you're just afraid of, just jump in and use it. I mean, honestly, it's going to waste. My paints were going to waste. I had invested money in them. I had put them away, too scared, not going to do it. And then when I pulled it out, it was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And honestly, I think at the end, especially after I turned off the camera, I was like, I kind of like these. It's different. It's different, but it's not different from acrylic paint that dries and you add layer after layer. The oil paint, even these water soluble ones, they don't dry at the same, they dry slower. And so as I was mixing and putting paint on, it was more like wet on wet. And not having known really anything about oil paints, or not knowing that much about it, I just decided to just try it and use some of the techniques and things that I do in using acrylics in these oil paints. And I feel like it was fine. I actually liked it. It was just different, a little bit different, but not crazy different. I mean, paint is paint. Ultimately, it just is the type of drying and the way it reacted, and in that regard. So I guess I'm stuttering over my words, because I'm not really sure what to say, other than I have decided I'm going to keep them, and I'm going to continue to kind of explore and see what can happen, see what kind of results I can get, see if it's something that I want to pursue a little bit more. And certainly, there's no reason. I already have the paint. There's no reason not to. It's not like I'm racing out and buying something new. At this point, I'm just using what I have. And I guess, again, and many of us probably have this, you buy something, and then either one, it was expensive, and I have no recall whether I spent a lot on this or not. You either spend a lot, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I can't use it because I don't know what to do with it, or I'm going to mess it up. Or two, you're intimidated by what it is. I mean, there could be a vast amount of reasons. One of my reasons is also typically I'll save it till I'm a little bit better, till I can use it in a way that's till I'm a better artist, or I can do things, I can paint better, or I'm smarter, I'm more knowledgeable. That day never comes. I'm just even to say to you, it does not come. So I would just highly recommend pull that stuff out that you have already bought and just start using it. I know I'm tooting a horn here. I'm like, beep, beep, use your stuff. But I had done a series of videos, I don't know if it was a year ago, whenever, on neglected art supplies. I haven't used this in a long time. I haven't used that in a long time. And so it's like, pull out what you have. Don't just go buy more things. So Buying is so fun, and it's so fun to have the new things. But if you're not using them, and if you're certainly not using the old things, what can happen is at a certain point, either one, they go bad, and I've had that happen before, or two, something might be dated in that it isn't relevant to what you're doing anymore, and would have been relevant if you had just used it when you purchased it. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying I tried something new today. I'm going to take you along for the ride. I ended up putting it in fast forward because I was like, this is taking way too long. I'm getting too tight and too precious with it. But at the same time, I wanted you to see the whole thing. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. This is the stash of water mixable oil colors by Winsor and Newton that I have. Literally, look how many. Like, I bought a big stash of them. I probably bought them on a discount on eBay or something, but still, I have no recall of ever buying them, and I have never used them. So along with that, because they are water mixable, you're supposed to be able to use water with them. And I actually have watched some YouTube videos about it because I was like, okay, what was I thinking? But I also have, in this little collection, I also had some solvent and also a blending and glazing medium, which I may or may not use. And they did say that despite the fact that these brushes clean in water, sometimes a little solvent isn't such a bad thing. So I will see how that goes. I have zero ideas about how this is going to play out or what's going to look like. These paintbrushes, these long-handled paintbrushes, were also in there. It looks like some of them have been used, so maybe I used them for something else, or maybe I bought them used. Again, I don't know. And using, this would be more like I'm going to use them at a distance, and that is a good thing because there's less control that way. So I typically on camera use short-handled paintbrushes, like this well-loved paintbrush. So this will be a little bit interesting because I am going to use these just because they were with it. And I like I said, I did a little bit of research before this, and I thought, shoot, why not just take you along for the ride, because I may never do this again. I don't really know. I don't know if I'm going to like them. I don't know what I'm going to do. So what I think next steps will be, I am going to pick out a limited palette. I have not even gone through and looked at what colors are here. So hopefully I have a few darks and lights. I don't see a white in there anywhere, but maybe, or a black or a brown. I don't know, raw umber maybe. So I'm going to pick out a limited palette, and then we're going to do, I had several ideas. First, I was just going to swatch, but I am not going to just swatch. I'm actually going to use the paints in a way that I normally would paint, just to see how that works. Because although swatching is great, and I would highly recommend it, like I should go through and swatch all of these colors, but to see if I even like them, I just thought I'd do a painting, a simple painting. I think I'm going to do a portrait and just see how they mix, what the result is like, and then we'll just take it from there. So I'm gonna pick out my palette, and then I'll be back. All right, I tried to hone it down, and this is a lot more than I would like, but I don't know these paints, so I'm choosing a lot. I did find a white and a black. Every black I'm familiar with. The zinc white typically is, I believe, at least in acrylics, is more of a transparent white. So I don't know if it's going to really, how much it's going to tone down. I don't know if that's the right word, but make the color lighter. So that might not be the white that I need, but that's the only white I have. Then, of course, there was a raw umber and burnt umber, which I like both of those. French ultramarine, I kind of like the name. I wanted to kind of have a blue, and then an olive green sounded great. Then I kind of pulled 3 different yellows just because the Naples yellow hue is a little bit lighter. So in case the white doesn't lighten the color, then I might bring in a little bit of yellow. I don't really know, but I do love yellow ochre, and I do like raw sienna. I also have a burnt sienna and this permanent rose I grabbed just for a little hit of red. I don't know if I'll use all of these. I'm going to put a tiny dab of each out. I did pour a little bit of that blending and glazing medium in here. I mean, I put just a tiny bit because I have no idea. I really have no idea. And I have water off to the side. I have a palette paper. I have all my brushes over here. Honestly, who knows what I'm going to use. And then I decided to, instead of spending the time painting out the face, I decided to trace one of my, from one of my art journals. I just traced this, I put carbon paper down and then traced over the top of it. So it's a really simple design. I'm not focusing, and I think this is a good thing to do in general. To reuse your own artwork is a great idea. Just to give a simplified, and it just gives you a starting place. I'm sorry, I'm like stuttering over my words, I guess because I'm kind of nervous about this. So I just thought, instead of focusing on the actual portrait, although that is what I'm doing, I want to focus more on experiencing the paints, and I don't want to get too caught up in having to figure out the details of all this. So then I just used one of my artworks. I'm going to it's a jumping off place. Again, I would highly recommend doing that, using your own artwork over and over again once you've already done the work. So, and then from here, I can focus more on, like I said, the process and using the paint and seeing what happens. So I'm just using a piece of watercolor paper, and it's actually the really heavier Fabriano paper, although it has a slight tear here. I'm kind of not really caring because I'm not really sure where this is going, and like I said, I don't know how it's going to work out. So instead of just babbling on about it, we're going to get started. I'm actually going to, I think, put a piece of cardboard or something, not cardboard, but I have the backing of one of these pads, and I'm just going to put that down and work on top of that like this. And then I'm not going to be worried about where the paint, how messy the paint gets. And it's supposedly water mixable, so it comes off in water, right? So I don't have to worry about it. So, okay, let's just get started, shall we? All right, I got my setup. The white looks really thick, and I don't know, I'm probably gonna need some to solve it. But I decided that I'm just gonna jump in. I'm not gonna be worried about it, although I am, and we'll just see what happens. I'm actually gonna start, I'm gonna put a little solvent on. I just wanna see and mix that right there. I'm gonna start with the blue, which seems a little bit bold, but let's just see. I just wanna start in the dark areas, and just not with black, not with brown, just kind of seeing, and I'm holding the paintbrush really far back. I'm trying just to see how the paint goes. I mean, it's just paint. So honestly, okay, I just need to go for it. I just need to be a little kooky. Okay, I'm just gonna should I keep with the same brush? Yeah, let's just keep with it. The paint is rather thick, and maybe it's because it's old, or maybe it's because that's how these oil paints are. And honestly, if you've used them, I would love to hear about it. And I would love to hear like what your experience is, because clearly I've never used it and I'm not really sure. Where do I want to go? Let's do her earrings. Let's just not be afraid. Okay. And let's go around the edge here. Okay, I feel like I want to keep using this brush. This is a good size. It's small though, so it makes me I'm not afraid, and that's good, but let's use let's use this light yellow. Let's get into some of this white. This white is really, see, this is what I would normally do. I would just be in there, but now that white is yellow, so that might be a problem, but that's okay. We're gonna do some lights now. Let's see what happens. That white is not, it is lightening it. Okay, let's see. Let's give us some lights here. Okay, I'm trying not to be exact. I'm trying to hold my paintbrush back. And I think what I need to do is, hopefully it's okay. I may speed this up because I can see, I'm just gonna try to paint like, and then maybe I should talk about it later. Or maybe I should learn how to do voiceovers, so then I can speed it up and talk to you guys doing a voiceover. So, but I don't really do that right now. So, okay. Yeah, okay. It feels, honestly, it feels like it doesn't feel that different from acrylic, but I'm sure it is different. So that's the thing. So I'm sure it's not the same, it's not the same, but it doesn't feel totally different. So, all right, I think I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to fast forward because I'm finding that I probably can't talk and do this at the same time. And it's more about the process and seeing what happens and exploring these paints, which is something I would highly recommend. And if you have used these, any kind of water mixable oil color paint, I'd love to hear about it. So I'm going to work on this and then come back at the end and talk about it. Okay, I got slightly carried away with this. Hopefully you can see it. I'll take some pictures and I'll take a picture and put it at the end. I actually, I don't know. I'm mixed about the oil paints. Now, what I did learn is, which I've heard is, they obviously stay wet much longer. So you are mixing wet and wet. I didn't really finish the ears. I could have just kept going on and on. There is a blendability to it. I do think the blending and glazing medium helped more than the water. And especially some of the paints were much thicker. Although I do enjoy working with heavy body paints, and I primarily do. There was some different techniques and things involved in this, just because it doesn't dry. So I was kind of used to that where things would dry. But yeah, and I kind of got hung up on the eyes, and things moved more than I'm used to. But I do feel like I do like them, and I probably would try using them again. Maybe I need to practice a little bit more off camera before I start these kind of things. So anyway, but it was fun to try. I hope you stuck with me through that process, and I hope that you give it a try if you have some oil paints laying around. If not, sometimes it is good just to push yourself outside your comfort zone and try something new. And I'm really glad I finally pulled these out and tried this. It was definitely a unique experience, and one that I feel like I could spend quite a bit of time and possibly not working flat down but up on a wall might have been a little bit easier as well, and also getting into some of the little pieces, also walking away and letting it dry and then coming back to it. So these ears are really bugging me, so I may do a little bit more work off camera just to kind of tidy it up, and then I will definitely take a photo and stick that at the end. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.